What does it mean? Because expansion with that, because people would look at it.
What it means is that our stand, people should come and take up the available good opportunities that puts them into safe environment. None other than having that occupation.
Right. You spoke of something, and of course it is definitely one of the things that was spoken about by some of the officials at HDI, and it was about legalization of prostitution, and what was being said here was that legalizing prostitution could help practitioners to come out of isolation and to fight for their rights. And this has been seen from the push that this act of sex work should be removed from the penal code, as should not be seen as something that someone should be punished for. And he says even if it is removed from the current amendments that are taking place, it wouldn't mean that it is legalized. Would you have fought a fight that bears no fruit?
Yeah,
is he busting your bubble?
It is complicated, as we are saying. But for us, we are looking from the trend. In 2010, the prevalence of HIV was 51. And we were saying that if sex workers are infecting men, and it is hard because today we don't have any statistic of male sex work. Most of them are female. And 51% prevalence of HIV, now they are infecting other men who are married and taking HIV. So it is spreading, which we are saying that if they can still infect in hiding, if we take a step and maybe say, okay, let's see if we can at least legalize so that if they come out, at least the prevalence of HIV can reduce.
And they can only come out if it is removed from the penal code.
This
is what you want.
Yeah. But looking at the steps so far, as if I quote well the discussion from the MPs in the parliament, they provisionally removed, I think, a provision that criminalizes sex workers as selling. Now they are punishing those who are buying. To which we feel that at least if these that are buying are being criminalized, there is fear now to be engaged in a crime. And if there is that fear, at least the female sex workers will have a negotiating power, which at least we feel could at least tantamount to reduction of HIV. And if you look at the trend, from 51, now it is 45.8. To us, our entry point is health, we feel at least it is reducing. And we hope for a further reduction.
Right. Would this help?
I think, from my point of view, is that the way he's talking about is like, if something is legalized, then people will use contraceptives, will use like condoms and everything that they have not been using.
Would it be a starting point to killing or ending stigma? Because someone fears, because if I come out, I'll be arrested. If I come out, people will say I should be investigated and taken in. Would it be a first step in dealing with that problem?
Actually, I don't see it from that point of view. Me, what I see is that as the way sensitize the whole population, even including this segment of the people, the way to use contraceptives, to use the condoms, to guard themselves against all the STIs and STDs and HIV/AIDS. The issue is not legalizing or not legalizing. The issue is how people should be able to handle themselves in terms of health. Both segments, the buyers and the suppliers, if they have to understand that it's our lives that we have to take care of, it has nothing to do with legalizing. We have to sensitize the population. They have to know that it's our right to use this and this. It's our right to keep ourselves safe. It's our right to safeguard our families. And then legalizing, not legalizing, I think based on the cultural values and the stigmatizing we are saying about, it's not something that we can see that we are advocating for at this moment.
Right. Let me just get into the tweets, of course, just to see what our tweets are saying. But I'm still concerned, Chris, because you said in your research you have not been able to identify the numbers of male sex workers. Yet people believe that indeed they are there? Is this a deliberate move not to take the initiative of looking for or doing research on this and just saying, let's focus on the women who we believe are the majority here? Someone might not understand what you said, might not believe what you're saying. How can you say that we don't have statistics on male sex workers?
Yeah, we shall come back to stigma around or surrounding sex work itself. Whom would you really think or suppose could come out and say, I'm a male sex worker? Would you imagine such a situation? It's hard. To me, I believe it's hard. And even female sex workers who do that, many are being seen on the street. And I think that's when we know that these are female sex workers. And there are even some who are hiding, whom you will never see on the street, who are practicing it in a high-level standards where you can't even investigate and get to know. So I was, of course, trying to put it that way, that female sex work today is the one that is really highly prevalent in Rwanda.
Right. Let's take a look at the tweets that have been coming through. Of course, Rudakemwa Nikki on Twitter says, comprehensive agenda of medical and social support to improve sex workers' access to healthcare, reduce their social isolation, and expand their economic options is needed. And yet, John Bosco said that this is already available. So people don't seem to see the action. We're not walking the talk.
I think tracing on where we came from and where we are, we have to appreciate. And we are saying we are not where we want to be. So the journey continues. We are renewing our commitments to make sure that we increase both quality and quantity of the opportunities available for the beneficiaries.
So does this concern you? Does it make you feel concerned that there are people who still feel like our efforts as a government are still not being seen or felt on the ground?
That's what I'm saying. If we see the reduction in poverty rates and all other things that have been happening, we appreciate what has been happening, and we are renewing our commitments to take another step going further.
Right. So you're committing to take another step further. All right, let's take a look at another tweet over there. Bonita says what? Bonita says that no one is talking about people who demand for sex from sex workers. Also, why do you think we have many women sex workers than men? Society and stigmatized institutions have something to do with this. I think this is important.
That's what I was saying.
Yes.
Based on what you were saying, that you're seeing female in the street.
Yes.
Where you see a smoke, there must be fire behind it.
Right.
So you can't say you're seeing women, there is that demand-driven thing that we needed to dig out.
This is the demand you were talking about.
Yes.
And that is what the penal code now says. It will punish the bias.
There are many behind this whom we need to talk about and sensitize and say that we need to stop this. Otherwise, it will continue to be there in existence.
Right. Chris, what's your take on that? I mean, she raises very important concerns there. We are mostly talking about the sex workers and not those who are demanding for these services. And how do we even do that?
Yeah, and I think that's what our honorable members of parliament thought about. And that's why today in the draft law, at least they are criminalizing sexual exploitation and bias because they feel it's in one way or the other, they are the part of the process and do complicate situations further.
Right. Okay. And then the institutions. We have actually stigmatized institutions that feel like they cannot actually operate or work with someone who has that tag of a sex worker. I mean, what do we do?
I think
what does the government provide?
Right away from my starting when I reached, I said we are happy that we have programs in place that are non-discriminatory in nature. When I talk non-discriminatory in nature, it means every citizen is entitled to a program and a product that is in place. So, including this segment of the population that we are talking about now.
All right. Let's take a look at another one right here. Elizabeth is here saying that an issue not being discussed is why people seek the services of sex workers. How has culture and society been addressed to reduce sex work demand? Why is this the situation? Chris?
Very hard. It's a complicated issue because that's why at the starting point I said it needs a holistic approach, because who has the mandate to protect the culture? It's the society. And where sex workers come from, they come from the society. So they are part of the problem and part of the solution.
Of the solution.
Yeah.
I've had people say that we need to stop it. It's uncultural. We cannot even talk about it because it's not part of our culture. Are we burying our heads in the sand, Jean
I
Bosco?
think if something there, whether bad or good, can be talked about, and that's how solution even can come about. Even the policies we design, they are designed based on the problem statement. So if there's something that needs to be dealt with, then something can be built on by talking and creating a solution.
Right. Let's take a look at another tweet. Keep them coming. Hashtag InFocusRW. I have Sam Rosine over here. What does Sam say? I mean, I've just gone to Sam's account. Let's just get back there so that we're able to read what Sam is actually saying with regards to this. This is what Sam is saying. Sam says prostitution in Rwanda is illegal. Section 4 of the Penal Code deals with it. However, a draft of a new penal code that doesn't prohibit prostitution was presented for debate in Rwanda Parliament in December 2017. Important statistics right there also coming through. In 2012, it was estimated that there were 12,000 sex workers in the country. It is thought that 45% of them in Rwanda are HIV positive, and sex workers report harassment from the police. So how do you deal with this harassment? When they come to you, what do you tell them as far as their rights are concerned? And what exactly is their right as far as this issue of harassment is concerned, whether police or whoever it is?
I think as our constitution is liberal, and I really appreciate for that. So if it says that every Rwandan is equal, is born free and equal, then and they have equal protection before the law. If someone is a suspect, there is a procedure on how you have to arrest the person. And if he's guilty, of course, they find how being guilty in court. And of course, whenever we meet them, we tell them this is, you have to spend 5 days at the police. 5 other days demanded by a prosecutor, and they have to distinguish between a prosecutor, a lawyer, a judge, and a policeman. So at the end of the day, they should bear in mind that any Rwandan can be a suspect.
Right.
But once you are a suspect, how do you procedures
Yes.
have to be respected?
Right.
Yeah.
He speaks of the penal code doing this, and some people have argued that they are worried that if it is removed from the penal code, then it will encourage the act of sex work. There are fears that once people will feel that I cannot be arrested or I cannot be manhandled, I cannot be taken away from the society because of this, it has been removed from people, then I can be able to practice it freely. How do you respond to people who have this kind of fears? Because this is something you really want to be done.
It is very difficult, but what I know in all countries where they have criminalized it, sex work has not been eradicated. And to me, I feel if they have rapidly been increasing, yet the law has been there, I don't think that if it is put to be free, I don't think it will make them increase. Yeah.
Jean Bosco, do you think this will give people that freedom to do it because it is not in the penal code?
I think there is nothing like freedom in this act of prostitution and the like. My stand is that I wish there was zero prevalence. That's my wish. Number 2, we shall continue and I call everyone to join our efforts, and we sensitize, we educate, we put there in place measures that people can come and take up the best alternative options in place.
Okay. Great. So any parting shots? Because we are supposed to go. Time is up. I'm told we are out of time. Yes. Parting shot, very quickly. Where do we go from here in 10 seconds?
To me, I feel I would call upon all practitioners, whether legal or medical, not to stigmatize sex workers because they are part of the Rwandan society. Yeah.
Right. Jean Bosco, very quickly.
Thank you. Thank you. My message that I can deliver, or I can voice out, is that outside here, the government has created equal opportunities, have created a leveled environment. So it's for us, for everyone,
to take advantage of those
take advantage of what is available and chip in and maximize the benefits.
Right. Thank you so much. That is exactly the time we had. Thank you so much for those tweets. Keep them going. Let's continue having these conversations. I always say it ends here in these four walls, but of course it has to continue going on. And that definitely means for you to be part of these conversations, you must not be here in the studio. It is usually my wish that we have a very balanced panel, but of course most of the times there are very other circumstances that actually occur and it becomes difficult. I appreciate your feedback. I appreciate that because I understand to whom much is given, much is expected, and we'll strive to do even better. So feel free to be part of these conversations online or here in studio. We will see you again next time, same place. My name as always is Eugene Anangwe. Goodbye for now.